a bunch of his clones behind him, and he watched those clones disintegrate. Now Jeff was angry, so he told his army to swarm everything, and that is exactly what they did. They were taking out turrets left and right, but they were also being shot by something else, the guard on top of the tower. Jeff saw the guard shooting at all of his clones, so he chucked his blade right at the guard, taking him out. Two of the clones destroyed the turret on the rail, which meant the only thing still standing in their way is the guard with the minigun. He used his minigun to try to keep him away, but Jeff took out the guard pretty easily. So they obliterated the entire security system. One of the clones took the guard behind the facility, and then Jeff and the rest of the clones entered the building. Welcome, Jeff, to level 2. Your objective is simple. Break open the door in front of you. Once you do that, you can advance to level 3. Good luck. Jeff ordered his clones to break open the door. So some of Jeff's clones went to see if they could get the door open. But while they're trying to get the door open, the floor suddenly collapsed, which is all a part of trap number 2, the compactor. They fell in between these two large pieces of wood, and the wood started to close in on them. But he realized he could use his sword to help him to try to climb out. He stuck his blade into one side of the wood and climbed out. But the rest of the clones that don't have a sword weren't that lucky, and the wooden walls came closing in on them, squishing them all. But we are not able to get Jeff, because he was able to climb out safely. While Jeff was in the compactor, the clones were able to break open the door, and they all went through the door. Now it's time to set up trap number 3. Now right now it's pretty simple. They just have to walk to the other side to get to the door. We just need to place down this item. Now you might be asking what this item is. This is a sticky glue trap, which are supposed to catch mice. Let's see if Jeff and his army can get across the sticky trap and into the next room. Jeff forced the clone in the front to walk on the trap, and the clone listened to him, and he sadly walked over to the trap. And while he was walking over there, the rest of the clones
A CRM shouldn't weigh your budget down.
saluted. He approached the sticky trap, and then he jumped right into it. And he was completely stuck. And he fell over face first right into it. And now that Jeff clone is sadly stuck there forever. That's when Jeff had a brilliant idea. He was gonna have his clones make a clone bridge right over the sticky trap. He needed 2 more clones to get into the trap, and he chose these 2 in front. So they walked over to the sticky trap. Then the first clone jumped on the clone in the sticky trap, and he hopped into the sticky trap and fell face forward. Then the next one came along, hopping on the last 2 clones, and he hopped in as well and also fell face forward. And now they have made a bridge for Jeff and the rest of the clones to get across. Then he told the rest of his clones to hop onto the other side as well. And while they did that, Jeff walked over to the door and went into the next room. And at first, this room doesn't seem so bad. Except for one thing. This is the deadly laser maze. So Jeff ordered one of his clones to test the laser to see how dangerous it actually is. And the clone walked over to the laser. He walked into the laser and completely started burning. It completely burned his face and he fell to the ground. Now Jeff knew how dangerous the laser really was. But Jeff is a parkour master, so he started by jumping over the first laser. Then he jumped over the second and third laser, he slid under the next laser, and he flipped over the last 2, getting to the other side. And Jeff walked into the next room. Now the rest of the clones had to get through the laser maze as well. They jumped over the lasers, slid under some, and got to the end and went to the door. But one of the clones wasn't so careful, and he accidentally jumped into the laser, and he was burned by it as well. But the rest of the clones were able to make it to the next room. They entered the next room with the next trap, and it is a very interesting one. It is the subscriber detector. All it does is detect if you are a subscriber to Master Builders. If you are, it turns green. But if you're not, it turns red. And what happens next? You'll just have to find out for yourself. Now, Jeff knew he wasn't a subscriber, so he demanded that one of his clones would go up instead. But all of the clones were too scared to do it. So Jeff took matters into his own hands and grabbed one of the clones and chucked him onto the platform. And then the room went silent. Jeff and his army watched as it detected his clone. And he was not a subscriber. So he gets launched all the way to space, and that Jeff was gone forever. Then he asked if anyone was subscribed to raise their hand, and one of them did. Jeff commanded him to walk on the platform, and he did. Then the machine started detecting him, and he was a subscriber. So now they are allowed to pass. Once Jeff saw it green, he quickly ran across the platform to the other side. And the rest of his clones followed as well to the next room. For this trap, I set up not one, not two, not even three, but 4 mouse traps. I also set up walls on both sides so they have to go through the traps. Jeff knew exactly what to do to get past this one. Use his clones again. He grabbed one of his clones and chucked him as hard as he can right onto one of the traps. And now the Jeff clone is stuck in the trap. Now they only have 3 traps to get through. Jeff asked if there were any volunteers to go next, and one of the clones actually raised his hand. So they watched as he went over to the mouse trap. The clone saw his other clone friend stuck there and knew he was gonna be next. Now he was ready to do it, so he jumped and landed on the trap. Because he hit that trap, it actually flung and deactivated the other 2 traps. So now there is a clear path to get to the next room. But that clone was sadly not so lucky as well. Jeff and his army walked over to the next door and proceeded to the next room. There is this tube right here that is a walkway to the next room. So all they have to do is walk inside of it and it'll lead them to the next room. Jeff and his army went over to check it out. Jeff peeked inside of it to see if there was anything sus about it. He still didn't trust it though, so he told his clones to go in first. And they started to walk into it. Come on guys, it's fine. The tube was not a walkway to the next room, it was actually a vacuum, and it started to pull the minifigures into it. Jeff was trying to run as fast as he could, but he was getting pulled closer and closer to the vacuum. But then he saw there was a random button that appeared. So with all of his might, he jumped over to the button and pressed it. Once he clicked it, the vacuum deactivated. Jeff and his clones survived, but a bunch of them didn't make it. And now a giant hand picked up Jeff and all of his clones, taking them to the next room. Now this is the next trap. Jeff and his clones have to get to the door on the other side. I will give you one hint. Watch your step. The clones saw the door on the other side, so they began to walk to it. But they didn't watch their step because they tripped on some tripwire. One of the clones tried to do a flip over it. That didn't work. One of the clones looked up and saw something terrifying. A giant saw. Jeff jumped to the other side trying to stay away from the saw, and it came down on all the minifigures that tripped. And they were all gone. I actually found some of the pieces to the clones. Now the door on the other side was actually fake. It was just a test. And the giant hand picked them up to the final spot.
Help your child have even more fun learning math and save up to 44% with
They were placed down right in front of the silver piece. They had finally made it. The clones all ran to the piece surrounding it, but Jeff could tell something was off. It was a fake. He yelled at his clones to run, but it was too late. The flamethrower turned on. Jeff quickly jumped off the platform they were on, and it began melting the rest of Jeff's clones and the fake silver piece. The fire spread throughout the entire platform, and all 6 of Jeff's last clones were all burnt to a crisp. And while that was happening, Jeff was falling and he hit the ground below the platform. He looked around and surprisingly, there was a door down there. He quickly ran to it and hopped through. And there was the silver piece. The real one this time. Jeff had survived all of the traps, and he used all of his clones to protect him from the traps. And now it was right in front of him. And once he gets it, nothing can stand in his way. Oh, did I forget to mention I had one extra secret trap? The giant boulder that will crush any minifigure. And that was the end of Jeffrey Brickman III. Thanks for playing my game, Jeff, but your reign of terrorism is over. And now, no one will dare to try to steal the silver piece. And the guards will protect this silver piece at all costs. Except, the guard was the real Jeff. The real Jeff was the one that took the guard behind the facility at the beginning of the video. He had changed suits with another clone to trick us all. He pushed over the boulder, He put on his suit and walked straight to the piece. And now nothing was standing in his way. And he used the silver piece to teleport to another reality. And he was gone. Comment down below where you think he went.
And print out Queso's face and put his face on it, and then put him on the